Exploring the philosophy of nostalgia through cinema. Nostalgia can be defined as a sentimental longing or wistful affection with a period of the past. We all know the feeling, and yet it somehow feels slightly more elusive than other emotions such as fear, anger, or envy. It often appears randomly and can be hard to articulate or understand what's going on. The word nostalgia derives from two Greek words, nostos, which means home or to return home, and algos, which means pain. One could literally translate this to the pain of returning home, which seems quite apt for what we understand nostalgia to be. So here are two films that discuss nostalgia in its various forms, and some of their links to the philosophical conceptions of the idea. Film 1, Aftersun. If there were a film to personify what it means to feel nostalgic, Aftersun might be just that. The film is a collection of fleeting flashback memories of a father and daughter's holiday to the Turkish coast. Like most childhood holidays, it captures the tone of heat-induced boredom as the duo traverse the resort in search of activities to keep them cool and stimulated. The film cuts between rusty, shaky camcorder shots, a clear depiction of the objective world, to beautifully cinematic collections that walk the line between fact and fiction. Whilst at times the narrative appears firm and linear, we understand Sophie to be an unreliable narrator as she fills in the gaps for events she was absent for or when her childhood memory fails her. This appears clear on the various occasions when the duo are separated, leaving Sophie's imagination to fill in the blanks of what occurred. The motif of memory and reliability is one that connects fittingly to the nostalgic experience, which sits somewhere in between the two maxims of fact and fiction. The modern philosopher James Sheehart considers this bridge between nostalgia and the objective past, highlighting that nostalgia isn't necessarily bound by a circumscribed zone of time, but rather works dynamically with the present-day reality. We see this in Aftersun as Sophie's nostalgic memories of her holiday are repeatedly intertwined with her current present-day life. Hart argues that this conjunction of past and present is what fundamentally creates nostalgia, rather than merely looking backwards. This idea is most fleshed out in the final heartbreaking few scenes, where we see an adult Sophie enter an altered state of consciousness as she interacts with her father days before his death. The scene cuts between the final night of the childhood holiday to a present-day Sophie embracing her father in a nightclub. Crucially, her memories with her father are not merely intertwined with her present-day self, but are fundamental and inseparable from one another. For Sophie to be able to achieve this experience, she needs her present-day knowledge of the world to be able to grapple with who her father was and what he was dealing with at the time. Things like being a parent herself and presumably dealing with her own mental health struggles allow the two to finally come together again and share the dance floor one last time. And in concluding, it appears no coincidence that Aftersun takes place on Sophie's 31st birthday. Like nostalgia generally, the experience and memories would have been different had Sophie been a teenager, adolescent, or young adult. But tragically, 31 is the same birthday that Callum celebrates on their final holiday together, the night they share their last dance. Film number 2, Past Lives. Past Lives, directed by Celine Song, follows the story of two deeply connected childhood friends, Nora and Hae-sung. The film commences by beautifully presenting their youth in Korea together, which begins as a friendship before blossoming into a deep and lasting, inseparable connection. Sung captures this nostalgic feel with a beautifully soft and natural colour palette, something that will be juxtaposed by darker, harsher ambience later in the film. For the two of them, it marks a time of innocence, purity, and carefreeness, feelings often associated upon periods of nostalgic reflection. However, as is the case for everyone, these feelings are finite. In what appears to be a sliding doors moment, Nora and Hae-sung follow separate paths, the cause of a work and opportunity-driven relocation to North America. Having grown up apart, Nora pursues a career as a writer, pouring herself into Western literature as her connection with her childhood and motherland appears to dwindle. While struggling to reach the Nobel Prize-winning success that tempted her initial relocation, her life is safe and stable, if not slightly unfulfilled in some way. I think this is quite emblematic of childhood perceptions of adulthood, which is often filled with endless opportunities and possibilities. Past Lives comes to the stark realization that whilst the possibilities are endless, the choice of one path often closes the path of others. By chance, the two childhood friends stumble upon each other through a Facebook forum, instantly striking a connection as they rebond over language, culture, and their childhood. Whilst it appears that nothing has changed, Nora soon becomes aware of the reality of their connection, realizing that a meetup is likely years away. Realizing the connection is taking her out of her life in New York, they cease talking and their relationship returns to a distant memory of youth. In demonstrating their attempts to recapture their childhood, the film touches on many ideas raised by German philosopher Immanuel Kant, who provides some of the first analysis of the idea of nostalgia. Kant describes soldiers striving to overcome homesickness, often feeling this burning desire to return to where they grew up, where things were innocent and free. However, upon returning to these places, they often found that the experience failed to live up to their manufactured idea, often feeling that something had changed. This idea is pointedly clear in Past Lives, as we see Nora attempting to grapple with the idea of losing her connection with country. Having been separated for upwards of 20 years, Hae-sung books a trip to New York, and the two finally reconnect with one another. In this fleeting moment, they appear to be brought back to their childhood, as the nostalgic colours return, light, natural and soft. We see glimpses of this beautiful connection that existed, filled with endless possibilities. And in spite of being finally reconnected together in the same place, something is still not quite fulfilled. Nora has a job, husband and life in New York, whilst Hae-sung is established in Korea. As Kant posits, what has actually changed is not the places, but the people who return to them. We see this nostalgic yearning in the final moments of the film, when Nora comes to the realization that the life she envisioned with Hae-sung exists entirely as an unrealized nostalgic reflection, a concoction of memories, yearning, and unrealized potential. As her mother tells her, it's true that if you leave, you lose things, but you also gain things too. Thanks heaps for watching my exploration of nostalgia in these two films. Have a good one.